Welcome back into the postgame show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Our buddy Alan Cole is here with us at the table. We're in the parking lot of Columbia Craft,
facing the parking lot.
Well, facing it. Yes, we're on the edge. Yeah, we're not taking up. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not in the. Yes, that's true.
That would be very unfortunate.
We are adjacent to the porch, but I put a traffic cone right near the table because there's a few cars that were whipping in, and I
made you a little uncomfortable.
It did, and I know Alan and Elijah both went like, "You really think that's going to help, don't you?"
I'm confused about the place.
Yeah.
Like right in front of it.
Yeah. There we go, Alan. Sorry, there you go.
Yeah,
You're good now.
I'm confused about the placement here. It's like right in front of the table. I'm not really sure if that's far enough out to stop a car.
Go. Well, if we can go move it, I'll move it again in a minute.
There's plenty of time of the day.
Yeah, I'll move it again. I don't think anything's really going to happen, and of course, Alan is now most vulnerable.
That's true. I am sitting on that side of the table.
Yeah. How you doing? Other than that,
other than the threat of a car hitting me,
yeah.
I'm feeling good. It's the weather's beautiful out here. It's a football Friday. Let's get going.
All right. So you've heard me do my aggregate scoring thing, and you know all the different numbers and metrics that basically point not just to a South Carolina win tomorrow, but probably one that most people would say would be a thorough, a dominant type performance. So why is a guy like me still so nervous about this game tomorrow?
Because you've been around here long enough to know nothing's ever straightforward.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, Shane alluded to it Tuesday, and you just said it a little bit in the last segment. Missouri just finds ways to win. They're 4-0 in one-score games. They've got a double overtime win this year. Last week was a game they had zero business winning, down 7 with 2 minutes to go, and you score twice to win the game, one on defense. If you get this thing to the fourth quarter close, Missouri has shown time and time again they just find a way to win these types of games. So I almost think it has to be one of those games where South Carolina wins comfortably, just because the longer this goes, I think the worse you feel about it in a one-score game.
Yeah, and the one thing that would make me feel pessimistic, which, for the record, I feel really good about South Carolina winning this football game. But Missouri does, in the last couple of games, have done a really good job of popping the football out. Like, they've been really aggressive with punching out the ball, forcing some fumbles, and at least being opportunistic with that. I mean, their offense doesn't look great. Drew Pine has not played particularly well, especially in that Alabama game where it was atrocious. That offense was an absolute train wreck, and that's how you go through an entire game without scoring any points. But the one thing you don't want to do is give them, even a bad offense, short field. And the one thing Mizzou's done to keep them in games is force some turnovers. And Jackson Arnold being the main culprit, they forced him into a lot of those. And that if there's any roadmap for Missouri to win this game, I feel like it has to be off the backs of forcing turnovers. Johnny Walker off the edge having a huge day.
No, I agree completely. And you got away with it last week. You know, Lenore Sellers fumbles deep in his own territory. Kyle Kennard gets the strip on, I think, the next play, or maybe it was 2 plays later. But no, you can't do that. And I do think Lenore Sellers in this offense does kind of deserve some benefit of doubt right now, though. I mean, you get no turnovers the week against A&M, none against Oklahoma, one last week. Like, you are taking care of the football. But like you said, if tomorrow's a day you go back to turning it over 3 times, Missouri's offense isn't great, but it's good enough to beat you with short fields, I think. It's not completely inept.
One of the things that Elijah and I talked a lot about is that it seems when Missouri is down, and in their 2 losses, they weren't just beaten, they were beaten badly, that you can almost, just kind of just ice them, just negate their will to want to get out there and try to come back into a ball game like that. Against LSU, against A&M, in Columbia, in big environments, we saw this team take big leads. Obviously, you lost them both, and then you lost one of those games. Is that an MO that's out? Like, even last week, Alan, and you were there, Carolina was in control even if they didn't score until later in the half. Is that who they are right now? Is that where Missouri needs to attack first in your estimation?
Yeah, I think this team does get better as the game goes on. I know that kind of contradicts what I said in my last answer about Missouri being a fourth quarter team, but you look at the A&M game, look how physical South Carolina is on both lines of scrimmage. You look at the Oklahoma game, you got off to a quick start, but you were still game control in the second half. I think this team, the way they play, what they want to do running the ball, the way Rocket Sanders has looked since the bye week, you're built to wear down an opponent. I think especially up front on Missouri's offense, because I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet. That starting center being out from Missouri is a big deal. It's a 3-year starter, probably
deal.
an NFL guy.
Yeah.
So I think Boogie, Tonka, TJ could have a big day. You can wear down Missouri up front that way. And I don't know if break their will's the right term, but I get what you're saying, and I think that's possible if you get out to a big lead.
Definitely. And then, for South Carolina's offensive line, too, I was really excited to ask you this and get your thoughts on this. But Josiah Thompson, probable to play. Big Tree had a big game against Vanderbilt. I mean, that guy was escorting dudes out of the club. And by club, I mean the line of scrimmage. Just like forcefully moving people, was a bouncer.
Time for you to leave, sir.
Like a bouncer at a Broadway bar, dude. I mean, he was awesome in the run game. How much of Tree Babalade do you expect to see on Saturday, given Josiah Thompson's, not just his probability of playing or his injury status, but just with how well Tree played in that second half?
Yeah, I definitely think they want to reward him for that. It's something we had Torricelli Simpkins in Media Tuesday talking about, how much energy Tree was playing with. I think if they feel good enough about Josiah playing, if he goes through warmups tomorrow, he'll get the start. I don't think you dock a guy a start because of an injury. That's kind of been a Shane MO going back to when Casey Henry got hurt in October. But I think, just to give Josiah a blow, I don't know if it's going to be every other drive. I think you definitely do it by drives, but you'll see Tree mix in there a little bit. He played well enough to earn that. But again, assuming he gets through warmups, nothing like DQ Smith last week, I think you still probably see Josiah start at left tackle.
How much of, and this is an opinion question for you, you've been around the team this week and some of the guys, how much of that, what's the word I want to use here? I don't like to use the word hunger, but I will. But how much of that still remains in this Gamecock football team in terms of proving something? Last week, it was the notion from Shane and the staff, hey, Vanderbilt's ranked and you're not. So you need to go show it. What is that same level for Carolina this week?
I think it might be even higher just because of the matchup. And look, it's a lot of different players. It's a very different Carolina team, but it's been half a decade since you beat these guys. Like, I was looking at it this week. You've beaten Georgia more recently than you've beaten Missouri. Like, think about that.
Wow.
Some of the older guys in this team, a guy like Vershawn Lee, who's been here 5 years and he's 0-4 against Missouri. Like, I think these guys want this one specifically just because of the name on the other jersey, the helmet, the logo they're playing, that it's been so long since you've gotten one on these guys. Team you play every year.
Yeah, my mind is so blown about that stat that you have beaten Georgia more recently.
Georgia since then. You've beaten Clemson since then. You've beaten Tennessee since then.
But
A&M twice. You haven't beat them ever before that.
Well, that's what makes us even bigger.
You've beaten Auburn twice since then, who you would never beat.
Here's the thing.
At least in
play them
conference
every year.
At least in conference play. So.
It just feels like it's a now or never thing with beating Missouri because you just have such an advantage right now. You have an advantage at the line of scrimmage. You have an advantage with health. You have an advantage with just how your team is playing in recent games. Like, it does kind of have that feeling, though. Like, if not now, when will you ever be able to do it? Like, this is just the perfect setup to be able to trounce these guys once and for all.
It's going to be, again, I would like to see South Carolina come out with the same exact intensity that they did, and we'd all like to see that, if you're pulling for Carolina anyway, against LSU and A&M here. And if you do that, I want to see what the response has been like from the opponent and how South Carolina at that point just continues to pour gasoline.
Oh, yeah. Make it hurt.
Yeah.
I think they want to do that
game.
against this opponent, especially after they got blown out last year out there. It was 24-0 before the
end last year, and that's the only time of the five, in my opinion, I've said, where Carolina was just not ready and probably was not the better. At least I say there's a difference in better team and collection of talent.
Yep.
And in 4 of the 5, I think South Carolina has had. This is against Eli or Missouri, by the way.
Yes.
Counting the App State game.
Yeah, because I have to count that one too for an Eli perspective. But you lost to Missouri that year too. But you've had the more talented team 4 of the 5 times.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it. Last year is the exception, and last year you saw the result. This year you absolutely do.
Yeah.
And so you got to go prove that. All right, Alan Cole with us, GamecockScoop.com, rival site covering Carolina. He's hanging out with us here. Our good friend Langston Moore has just gotten to the table. He is going to join us as well. So both these guys hanging, talking more Carolina-Mizzou as the Football Friday postgame show rolls on from Columbia Craft.
On the roads currently, well, Friday afternoon, so that means the traffic is moving slowly in many places, the usual places. Busher Road, I-20, a wreck there. Also, Mill Stream at Corley Mill. Salem Church Road at Dreer Shoals Road. Got a wreck there as well. So be careful on your drive home this afternoon. Take it easy. You'll get there better. You'll get there totally. Wrecks this afternoon on your way home, Busher Road at I-20. Also, Mill Stream at Corley Mill Road. Salem Church at Dreer Shoals Road. Boy, that's going to cause some problems up in Ballantyne and Chapin this afternoon. In addition to that, we got some slow areas, of course. Got I-26 heading westbound. Also, coming out on I-20 right around Monticello Road. Traffic moving real slowly there. This is Captain Dave in the WIS-TV Traffic Center.
Um, I think it just pulls everybody in because you and I know him as the bomber, but they also screaming out Jake Paul is, he's kind of like a brawler too. So how is this going to marry up? He's been fighting some football guys that I know. I'm like, that dude used to be able to fight, but football and fighting ain't the same. There's a lot of dudes who play football can't fight, and then vice versa. So it's just really, I think we're hooked. And the biggest thing on top of this is they got me. The algorithm got me.
What time will they actually
this is the other thing I think, Jay, because usually boxing matches go until like 11:30, 1 o'clock at night. You're like, man, I took a nap and I woke up. I think because Mike Tyson in this crowd, and it's 9:30. They're going to be prompt. This is probably going to be one of the promptest boxing matches we've ever seen.
What South Carolina football player would you least want to box against
right now?
I think it's Kyle Kennard.
Kyle?
Yeah,
I would say Debo.
Oh, yeah, Debo's got some anger. I think
But again, also, are we getting flyweight? Because again, Nick Immiuri is 6'4", but if we cut some pounds off of him, that
Nick
thing
has some reach.
That thing would pop.
What if I went all time? I don't know. Like I probably wouldn't have wanted.
Well, again,
like Vic Hampton.
This is the biggest, perfect segue. DJ Swearing just had a boxing match just the other day.
Really?
And I saw him. Well, it must have been. I don't know if this was in China or what, because he was filming the tape of himself off his phone. So I don't know where we.
That's the world we live in.
But DJ looks phenomenal, and again, I always knew he was a boxing guy. He always kind of trained with that, but he had a nice little jab out there. So again, DJ's up there.
Definitely wouldn't want to fight him. Was it Andre Ellington? Is that picture of him standing over?
Andre's his cousin played it. He played it at the
talk about a lot of fights. I'm sure those cousins had a lot of fights down there in Berkeley and those areas. So
that's right. That's down your way.
All in all, I think it's brilliant marketing, and I think the bigger machine is they're getting ready for football in December.
Now, Netflix isn't charging me extra for this, right? If I have my Netflix, I can watch.
And this is the beauty of it, and that's why I think there's going to be more shenanigans, because it'd be one thing if I paid my $79. Well, what would it be now for inflation? Like $129.99 for a fight, and then I had to wait all the way to the night, and I can't record it and whatever. But now this is already included in my Netflix, and so if there's something really funky going on as far as like more wrestling and slap boxing, and I don't know, I don't know, Jay. I just know it's going to be entertaining. There's going to be a storyline.
There it is. And like yesterday, Mike and his Speedo slapping Jake Paul, and I was like, oh no.
But Jake stepped on his toe. As anybody who is 55 plus, you get a toe stepped on. And so I played football for 7 years, so I'm close like 55 in my body. You step on my toe, Jay, that's a slap.
Yeah.
So that's what happened yesterday, right? That was just you stepped on an old man's toe.
Well, you'll remember this. You remember I'm going to get you, sucker.
That's right. My budget. He shoot it off. Shoot it off. It's growing. They got a heartbeat.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but
I think they'll be on time. Like you said, a lot of people get paid, and I should have invested in Netflix years ago when it was a red box. I don't know what I was thinking.
More football from Columbia Craft coming up. Holiday season it's basically here, y'all, and you need to be watching everything you want to watch better than ever. It starts with the parade, right? And you get the kids like the dog show. A lot of us want to watch the football game after the parade. Then you flip over to the dog show at halftime. Then you got all your favorite holiday movies. Then you got more football to watch. Do it all better with integrated media. That's what I'm leading up to here. 803-948-8327. If you have been dreaming of a new home theater system. Maybe last year you were at like your brother-in-law's house. Like, man, he's got a cool system. When he comes to my house this year, mine's going to be better. All right. That's what America's all about. Forget about like fights for old dudes. It's the fight between family on who's got the better home theater system, right? 803-948-8327. You can even impress people by taking them outside. Weather like this, beautiful. Equipment made to be out there all the time. All your home theater needs and so much more. Do it with my good friends at Integrated Media.
They're a team. They've got their record in one-score games over the last few years is really good. I saw that, and it shows. They when games get into the fourth quarter, they expect to win, and they've been in some games, whether it be Oklahoma last week or Auburn a few weeks ago or Vanderbilt, that are close games in the fourth quarter, and then they just keep hanging around and find a way to win it as well. And there's something to be said for that. They got a lot of players that are still there that were a part of that 11-win Cotton Bowl team last year, and you can see the belief they have right now.
Shane Beamer last night on Carolina Calls as he discusses what the Mizzou Tigers are used to this season, even as they come in at 7-2, only 2 conference losses. They were both blowouts. And in one of those, A&M, Carolina, of course, beat the Aggies. And in the other, they were beaten 34-0 against Alabama. Gamecocks lost in Tuscaloosa by 2. We've been touching on some of that. Welcome back in. Hour 2 of the postgame show on this Friday, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips, our good friend Alan Cole, Gamecock Scoop hanging out, and the former Gamecock D-lineman, team captain, draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, a Detroit Lion as well, husband, father, barbecue aficionado, and escaping Texas with the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. Softball expert and so much more. Our good friend Langston Moore hanging out in a very, very cool Detroit Lions hoodie.
Yeah, it's got a little mixture of the Grateful Dead vibe in there a little bit.
I like
so,
that, man.
It's crazy. It hasn't been getting cold enough in Texas, so I was like, man, I get to go to South Carolina where it's frigid now.
I would say, can I wear that? But you and I, we're about the same size. So.
I mean, Jay, I'm trying to lay off the carbs, but the carbs ain't laying off me. So.
It takes 2 to tango.
That's right. For me to have an addiction to the sweet, it got to love me too. So that's the problem. Once it stops loving me, that's when I think it'll get off me.
All right. So we talked. Since you joined us, all we did was talk about the Tyson thing for a minute here. So let's jump into the football first. And we talk to you every week, so we've gotten your impressions. But another dominating performance last week. What do you like most about where Carolina is right now? Obviously the on-field stuff speaks for itself, but what else are you seeing about what South Carolina is doing in the last month?
The biggest things is that it doesn't feel like there's a ceiling for these guys. It just continues to ascend and go up and up and up because, I was like, I've seen guys get hot before. There's a guy, he gets 5 sacks and, it leads the leaderboard and then he's just hanging on for the last, couple weeks and gets maybe 1 or 2 pressures or something like that. But that hadn't been a deal, and it hasn't been one guy. And more players have been getting hot. Defense, like, we started off the season hearing about 1 or 2 guys drafted, and we've, using that as an indicator to how successful a team is and how rich the talent is. But it's talent. One of the other biggest things is the adjustments. Like, obviously the second half stuff that speaks for itself. These guys have been screaming out they want shutouts, but they haven't been getting a whole shutout. But they've been what's a half a donut, right? It's not the
donut hole.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. Is the donut hole the other half? That's a good question. But the point is they've been really close, and of course shutting out. I think 4 or 5, of those teams, especially getting to the back half of our schedule. When I can speak for myself. I won't speak for Jay Phillips. All the bad things he was saying out there at SEC week, but. The back half of the schedule was brutal, and now that we're looking at it, we're like, man, okay, Oklahoma, we can check that off. The Texas A&M, of course, not sorry Texas A&M, where they came in highly vaunted, highly ranked. So all of those things to me have been the biggest thing. Is haven't had a lot of penalties, haven't had a lot of miscues. When we get beat, we don't get beat twice. Rarely, if we have been getting beaten. So that just shows me this is a team that is on the details, the adjustments, the hunger. All of that stuff is really, really hard to do in a climate when guys are changing out. They're young guys on top of everything and getting a whole bunch of attention and success. I mean, my hat's off to this. And we haven't even talked about the ascension of number 16. This dude just continues to, I don't want to speak about that as a defensive guy because I'm like, I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
Because, again, he's just getting better and better. And just a lot of that natural ability and talent has just been showing itself.
Well, let's go there because I can blend in my interior defensive talk with this, but when one of the things we've seen, you just can't bring him down, and
right.
Elijah and I were kind of half joking, but I think back to at least college Jameis. I think back to Roethlisberger all those years. Just big men that you can't bring down. The difference is Lenoris can also sprint away from these guys, but as a defender, how deflating is that when you know you did everything right?
Makes you sick. I got a picture on my phone right now of Ben Roethlisberger. Well, I have a picture of me beating the Hall of Fame guy in front of him, and the subsequent part of that picture, and that's why you need a video instead of a picture, is I jumped on Ben. He shook me off, and I think he threw it for a touchdown or something. But it was right there in the red zone is like probably the best play I ever had. And that's just a chapter in my life is a little sentence in Ben's life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I forget who that guy was. But that's what Lenore Sellers, but more athleticism, more you forget he's 240. And again, my biggest litmus test is always my wife watching the football game. She's like, oh, still calls them goggles. Come on with goggles. But the run last week against Vanderbilt, it was like, ooh, oh, do your thing.
Yeah.
And, before it's the constant, come on, throw it. And he makes those plays. Oh, that's what you're supposed to do. But she was like, oh, and that's how, and that's the wildest thing, his ability to stay downfield, to make those plays with his leg, juke guys, getting really smart, again, he doesn't make the same mistake twice. He made the mistake a couple weeks earlier, diving a little bit too early. We saw the pile up, he trucked the dude in the opposite way, and then he's just being really shrewd in how he uses his body, sliding. We need all of that because he's going to be the engine that really gets this thing going as we couple the defense moving down the back half.
I've got a question for you, just kind of interior D-line. So Missouri's down there starting center tomorrow, guy who started for 3 years, an NFL prospect, all of that. When an offensive line doesn't have its center any time, but especially a really good one, what does that actually do for a defense? What is it actually going to do for South Carolina tomorrow?
Well, the biggest thing, and again, you think about a center and the concept of what they have to do. They have to hike the ball. They have to try to get position on somebody who's either going to be zero head up on them. So if we're trying to scoop a guy, whatever, you got to figure that stuff out. Then, depending upon your offense, you got to make the call, dictate offensive line, run blocking schemes. Oh, we're checking it, kill. I forgot what's the first play, second play, and all of these things happening on the road against us here at South Carolina. So it's going to be an extremely difficult job for him. On top of that, it's not like we just have one guy where they can okay, let's turn the line this way, or let's try to do some. This is the thing that the Patriots used to always do. Anytime they had a defensive lineman that was really active in the NFL, they do a lot of wham schemes. So you see the fullbacks, Bronk coming in, letting the defensive lineman run up the field, and they just ear hold them. And you're not going to get that a lot. You're not going to have that ability because you can only do so much within the week. Even those guys probably getting reps, he's probably going to be more concerned about snap first, protection second, and making sure these calls are on the same. Maybe they might get some help from a center, the guard or somebody next to him. But again, this guy has his head down, and I always love that as the defensive guy because I'm just about to plow over you. I'm going to have my guy pick you on your side. And that's the other thing we've been doing very well internally is running these games, these pick games, ricochet. I know Coach Trevian is channeling his inner Brad Long because, ricochet and getting on these games, getting your hat in the crack, that's the number one rule, and they've been doing it. And it's been showing itself with getting sacks and pressures.
And then to add to that, not only do you have this backup center doing everything that you just described, that backup center is doing it with a backup quarterback, right? With someone like Drew Pine, who, yes, granted, has played a lot of football, but when he's been put in environments like Alabama, it looked really bad. The more I think about this concoction of elements here, going into Williams-Brice, I just have a feeling that this defense isn't just going to eat. They will get themselves fat because they will do so much eating that they will carb overload, and they can even hibernate after that. There's just so much eating that will be done that we will confuse Williams-Brice with Golden Corral by the time this game is over.
That coconut shrimp over there?
Yeah.
Chocolate fountain, is it?
Oh, yes, I got coconut shrimp and pizza on my plate right
so
now.
This is the thing. You just got to be a little careful, though, because the one thing that always scares me, one, is past performance. Elijah Drinkwitz, he has our number. He cares a lot about this for whatever reason, and creativity. For whatever we can say about, the robots, and I think he's corny, and, if this dude was in my neighborhood, I wouldn't pick up after him. If my dog went in his yard, all those type of things. But, he's creative. And so one of the things he's going to do, he's going to try to screen, draw, delay, and slow us down, feast us because, again, phenomenal pass rushers already. He's going to try to invite a lot of this upfield and try to get some of those things going and then be creative after that. But the one thing they don't have, and I think Shane touched on this earlier this week, is this run game and that physical ability. And so, again, with the absence of a lot of that, I think we can still weather that little bit of storm and creativity from Elijah and still trample out the run and make this the game we want it to be.
We talked about that earlier in the week. Our Elijah and I did, not Drinkwitz, but about the screen game and trying to negate what Carolina does well. So taking what you just told us, as we can all agree on that, what level of frustration does that cause for South Carolina defenders or for a defender in general when man, they're working against us, but I mean, it isn't like a guy like you as a D tackle. You're not suddenly just run away. I mean, is it frustrating, or do you just have to bide your time?
Well, it is. I think you got to bide your time, and this feels like, again, this team hasn't been beat by a lot of like mistakes, penalties, different things like that. Again, I go back to that play against Texas A&M, the 3 or 4 iterations of the moving the person around on 4th and short, backed up, hut. I thought, again, 3 times. Usually most teams don't have the bandwidth to do that because, again, somebody on the offense will jump at that point. They even do it on college football now. They don't even let you do like 2 or 3 checks before they used to let you check your mind out. Jay, you're not even playing PlayStation right now. You're talking about
Jay has no clue. He's
Plinko or something like that. But the point is, then they went up to the line and still were able to have the pad level. All that is discipline, all that. So this team has shown me in the past, specifically defensively, they can weather the storm. They've seen a lot of these screen draws, delays, different things before already. Just bide your time, because when it comes down to it and it's a 14, 15, 20-something point lead, and that's all you got to do is it's coming, and you're going to get yours. So it might not be the 5-sack game in the first half, but just be patient, play those deals. And you might do something crazy like Tonka Hemingway's done in the past and like pick off a little shuttle pass here or a screen pass, because these guys have been getting hot like basketball players lately, and everybody's been hitting threes, even Draymond Green.
When I play Plinko, I just I carry my own lead chip, and it just drops straight. It breaks all those pegs.
See, Jay's been to a fair or two before. He knows how to beat it.
I'm a step.
I got weights in my shoes, Bo. You can't guess my weight.
So if you have a Plinko machine, you see Jay Phillips approaching, go ahead and say, you know what, we're closing.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
Actually, we're closing.
With this rotation that they have, take us again through that, because they stay fresh, they stay engaged, and that's both a product of success. And buying in to a belief in what you're being asked to do. And I'm talking specifically about the guys in the interior of that D line, but they really, they're having fun.
Yeah, they're having fun. And I think that's just the infectious nature of playing high level football, obviously seeing the success. That's one of the things where you can preach a lot of things to guys that, man, you do this way, you ricochet, you put your hat in the crack. But once you start seeing it and they start seeing the benefits of that tangibly, it's like, oh man, coach knows what he's talking about. It's like when your mom said, man, save a little bit of your paycheck. Now you're gonna need it for a rainy day. And you're like, mom, I knew what she was talking. And it's the same way, I think, with these guys, and they've just been showing that. And so it comes down to, I don't want to be the guy in the group because we're hot right now. I don't want to be the guy that shoots the air ball, and using that same metaphor with the 3-point deal. But I think it's just one of those deals that just well coached team, and the channeling the inner Brad Long through the defensive line coaches has been is showing itself on tape.
Langston's hanging out with us. Alan Cole is here too. We are live inside, right on the edge of the parking lot at Columbia Craft. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, we have a pair of tickets for tomorrow night's sold out. Well, tomorrow afternoon, but it's almost like a night game.
It will be a night game for like.
I mean, look at like right now. Look up in the sky right now. This is kickoff sky. So it's
by the time we get halfway through the second quarter,
yeah,
we'll be under the lights, baby. It'll be a light show at Willie.
But we have a pair of tickets. You must come to Columbia Craft to win them. There is no calling Captain Dave.
Do not harass Dave.
You can call Dave. We'll be happy to talk with you about Larkin Poe and classic guitars until he can't talk anymore. But it will not help you win tickets.
Nope.
There's no texting. There's no emailing. You got to come here in person. Jeff will hook you up. Jeff's walking around here somewhere. So come by, do that. And I tell you what, for a second person, not for the same person, for a second person, we have a pair of women's basketball tickets for Sunday's game against East Carolina.
Yeah, you want to see the best women's college basketball team on the planet? Yeah, that sounds great to me. They play Sunday right behind us, actually.
That's right.
And to do it for free, that rules, man.
Yeah.
You want to do that.
There you go.
See a sick Detroit Lions hoodie, too, if you come down here.
That's
yes.
right. You
Most importantly, you can
absolutely
see Langston's hoodie.
I keep that, though. I keep that.
Lots more to do as the post-game show rolls on this Friday. We're broadcasting live from Columbia Craft. Be right back.
Almost time to put the hoodie back on. That's what I'm talking about.
I saw that guy over At Dylan's the other day.
You did, yes, actually. That's where I got the shirt.
There it is, Dylan's Supply.
It's the one they gave to me. So got a free T-shirt out of it and everything. So it was a good day.
I had good food there too.
Yeah.
And his hamburgers and hot dogs were good.
It wasn't bad. It actually was better than I expected. They did a pretty good job over there. You guys see some merch? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got this shit on. This oversized Dylan Supply shirt. I got this shit on.
All right, 19 minutes after 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Alan's hanging out with us. Langston is here for a little bit more. We got to drive around the SEC coming up. We're about an hour away from the Wild Card Showdown. Chance to win a craft beer passport. We have given away our football tickets. They went quick, man.
It did not take long.
I mean, like that might be a record amount of time for someone being ready to win football tickets on this very radio program. But
and again, if you say you're a fan, come duke it out in the parking lot. Get here first, swerve in first. You got a cone, miss us, hit each other. And if you really want these tickets, I want to see a little blood.
It's not that we're not condoning violence. We're just not
Elijah,
condoning.
we still can see blood. We still have those basketball tickets left, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Number one team in the country.
I want to see blood. There will be blood.
Yeah, there's a fine line between condoning violence and encouraging violence.
Yeah.
This is a football show, Jay. What are you talking about?
Violent sport, dog.
These cars are coming around much slower the last 30 minutes or so.
See, we could have gotten our violence if Jay didn't put the cone out here to discourage people from just hauling ass.
I don't want to be part of the blood. So that's all. I got.
Hey, they expect one of us in the wreckage, brother.
I got things to do. You and Alan are in your 20s. Y'all be in traction for a while. I might not make it back through, man. I don't need that. And Langston's had surgeries. I don't need that either. So
again, there's not enough stem cell in the world yet. They haven't made that legal in America yet.
Right. Actually, if a car comes up to Langston, I feel bad for the car. Langston still got that dog in him. I feel bad for the vehicle.
Depends. Is it one of these new plastic cars? Now, if it's something from the 90s or the 80s, I don't know. I might jump out of the way.
What about a Fiat?
Maybe.
It's the worst offensive guard you've ever seen. Is that Fiat? He's just shoving him out of the way and going to the quarterback.
I remember the Renault Le Car, which was even smaller than those things, man. So there was that.
Like a go-kart.
Do want to thank our good friends at Minuteman Press for all they do for us here on the program as well. Just right down the block from us on Gervais Street, downtown Columbia. More than 300,000 items to help you grow and promote your business. Check them out online at Minuteman.com. Langston with us here for a little bit more. So is Alan. All right, Mr. Moore, let's jump into a couple of things about what to look for tomorrow from South Carolina from the perspective of early dominance to try and take Missouri out of this game. We saw Carolina jump out to big leads against both LSU and A&M, ultimately lose both of those leads. Obviously, with A&M, the second half adjustments made all the difference. The second half against LSU, Lenore's was down. You never know, right? But you've done that in this environment. But as Elijah's pointed out, when Missouri has gotten down early, they're done.
Right.
And they've only lost twice, but they've been humiliated in both of those games. What's the number one way for Carolina to counter what you were talking about with Eli and say, this is our game?
Continue that hot streak of running the football. However, we've been doing it via quarterback, via some of those iterations of like orbit motion. Obviously, a lot of Rocket Sanders getting off there because again, it does feel like these guys, have been striking and getting in the groove a little bit, and it showed itself in the stats for the last couple of weeks, and we've been riding that on the road at home, and so nothing will negate and slow down all those shuttle plays and screen passes that I'm envisioning being scared of being taken advantage of with this high flying defensive line. Then okay, they're having success running, having a long drive. They scored on that drive. There's only so many screens you can do. You got to at some point move the ball down the field, run the football. And Missouri in the past, again, has done that with a bunch of different guys, bunch of different creative ways, a bunch of different guys you probably couldn't name, even going all the way back to the days when they won the SEC championships coming into they've been mostly a running team, power team, but they don't have that this year. And so, again, I think, just not being falling for the bananas in the tailbikes, getting some big plays here, a chunk play, something creative, a double pass or something just to get something going. I think there it's not long before the real Missouri Tigers show themselves in our offense. We are who we are, meaning a better team, a ranked team. When it shows itself, it's going to show itself Saturday, and let that home environment take over. That would be another deal to take advantage.
One thing this year, I remember thinking about the shows that we had leading up to the Missouri game last year. So much talk about Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, and that offense that was high flying. Right. But with Drew Pine at quarterback now, with Brady Cook not being available, his average depth of target as the quarterback at Missouri is 6 yards. But they still have to find ways to get Luther Burden and Theo Weiss the ball because those are just your best players. And from a South Carolina standpoint, from Judge Collier, O'Donnell Fortune, what's the challenge going to be with those guys? Knowing the ball's not going to go deep too often, but you still have two guys that when they have the ball in their hands, Burden especially, one of the best yards after catch guys in all of college football.
That's still there.
What type of challenge, I guess, would it be for Carolina secondary to just make sure they keep that ball and Burden and Weiss in front of them?
I think, again, inside and front, making sure the communication, what they've been doing all this whole entire year, whether it's against LSU. Again, I think maybe they got us a little bit, maybe in the fourth quarter with some adjustment, but, that's Brian Kelly. He's coached a lot of football, so he can always be like, run this play we used to run in 88, and it worked. And so, outside of that, again, though, this is the other thing, and we know about a guy like a Luther Burden, like you got to feed that machine. And the success that Missouri has had in the past is getting these guys hot, getting those 7-10 receptions, but that's not going to happen because, again, they might try to do some trickeration. They might try to use them as eye candy, put some guys behind them, different things like that. But again, you can only run the banana and tailbite so many times. And again, that'll be different against a team that is, not as smart, not as aged, again, the two deep depth we have are a lot of guys who have played a lot of football and seen a lot of stuff. So, they're not going to get sucked up into, oh man, we're getting ranked and we've been having all this success. That's not this team. And it feels like, again, it's just going to be another step up the ladder of the ascension for not just the defense, but the entire team this weekend. But again, we got to respect it early on, but be patient. The feast is coming, in the words of they're going to bring nachos here soon. In the words of Elijah, a lot of nachos.
Elijah's got a lot of his buddies in town. Why don't y'all actually go put a banana in the tailpipe of the Missouri bus and see what happens?
I mean, I do have.
It's right up here at the street, Jay. I tell you, and the nice, great folks here at the Marriott Hotel, not too far from the Langston Morris staying at. I saw the Missouri bus out there. So, everyone knows.
We know.
Everyone knows.
I got my boy Matt and Logan here. We can recruit them to put a banana in the tailpipe of the Missouri bus right now.
Yeah.
See, they're heading there. They're heading there.
I love it.
Can't win a football game if you can't arrive to the football game.
That's right. Yeah. Where's Missouri? I had a banana in the tailpipe.
There's like banana.
It's like the ending in Rocky 2. It's like, where's Apollo? I was hoping he wouldn't show.
When you look at where Clayton White has made the biggest difference this season, take us through that. Adjustments, just a belief in this system, but it goes back to around this time last year, and it's just been upward almost the entire time.
Yeah, and again, whatever the lesson that needed to be learned, the summertime is not. There wasn't no summer lag or anything like. There was no off-season lag. It's just been constantly, and again, couple that with managing the NIL, the portal, doing all of those things, because at any moment, maybe one of these guys could have went off to another school. We've heard stories about Nick Miure. We've heard, again, there wasn't other opportunities for Kyle Kennard, but for us, maybe to double down on a guy like that, that's going to fit our culture. Because again, they hear the stories about him coming in here talking about, man, let me coach up Dylan Stewart for what? That's not the culture when you're talking about NIL, but that's the first thing you see him out there doing, trying to get this guy right. And so, again, I love when that stuff happens in the form of stats and sacks for him, but it also shows Dylan, again, this is how you got to be a pro in essence, because this is what this is, Jay. Now you hadn't heard these guys getting paid a little bit sometimes. So, I think the biggest thing for Clayton White is just keeping this constant standard. These guys have been getting better. And again, just hearing Clayton in the conferences. I mean, not to say he wasn't an unconfident dude. It just sounds like, man, he probably, looking at himself in the mirror with them tighty whities on, like, man, man, I ain't even started working out yet. You know what I'm saying? And so, talk about confidence, Jay. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, that's a good one.
Got it on.
That's a good one.
He's been in a pretty good mood on Wednesdays, and understandably so.
Yeah.
It feels different than this time last year.
Right. And again, it's not, again, he's been paid very well, but that was probably, it felt like it was maybe going down the path of, an offensive coordinator's name we won't name that's no longer here, but he's stuck in corn country. Again, he's still getting paid somewhere, but
he is getting paid.
It felt like, oh, okay, here are we going to have to address the defense the same way? But he made the adjustments, and they kept continuing to ascend. And again, these kids are bought in, and so you got to tip your hat to him, because that's like figuring out Aladdin's map or whatever metaphor I can use for that, because these teenage kids with money, man, it's crazy.
Well, and a couple of them go get some more. Let's put it that way.
I like it.
No, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. 28 minutes after 4 o'clock. You got a little bit longer?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, Al's going to hang around too. More Gamecocks. We also have a drive around the SEC coming up. Not a lot of conference action, but one very big game. And then another one that has some importance, and maybe a third that could prove to be upset worthy. We'll talk about that in the drive around the SEC as we are live from Columbia Craft in the Vista here on the Postgame Show. Hey, some new wheels in your future? Well, let me tell you, paying for it is a whole lot easier these days with our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. We're in a good rate environment, and they've already had lower rates and fewer fees when it comes to borrowing money. My wife and I are customers. We can speak to that firsthand. No better place, as I said, than Palmetto Citizens to finance that next vehicle. Same low rates on all new to 21 models. Some great options for older vehicles. Many plans come with no payments for up to 90 days. Plus, if you're getting a new car, That means as a 21 or older or newer, I should say. Sorry, 100%. Plus of the retail or purchase price can be financed, and they've got additional coverage and insurance options dealerships simply cannot beat. So go shop for that brand new set of wheels. Then log on to palmettocitizens.org and check out what they can do for you, or stop in and see any of their great professionals at 14 very convenient area locations. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union.
All right, got a wreck on Assembly Street and also one at Forest Drive near Percival Road. That Assembly is near Calhoun. Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77, Mimosa at Highway 6, North Main near Wilkes, Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive, an accident there as well. Now, your weather outlook, we're looking for a low tonight of 42. Tomorrow's high, 69. Lots of sunshine. Sunday, warmer, 71, mostly sunny. And Monday, 74 for a high, partly cloudy skies. Captain Dave, WIS-TV Traffic Center.
Welcome back in. It's the Football Friday postgame show. Jay, Elijah, Alan, Langston, all hanging out here. Jeff is keeping us straight. Again, we gave away our football tickets. If you do want a pair of tickets to the women's basketball game, we still have that for you. Come see us live in person here at Columbia Craft. Speaking of live at Columbia Craft, 1 week from, well, let's just say now, because that's the truth. 1 week from now, their 7th anniversary fall festival will be taking place. It'll go from 5 to 10. All kinds of great live music, the Sam and Elia Band, the Run Out, 10-mile ride, all going to be live out here. Plenty of good food, ciders, beers, of course, and so much more. And if the weather is as cooperative as it is today, then man, it'll be a
This feels fantastic.
This is, I mean, again, this is Chamber of Commerce. This is one of those days If you ask for the weather to be better than it is right now, you're just being selfish.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
You just like to complain.
Yeah.
At that point,
At that point, you just got
it's a you problem.
This is perfect. And again, look around. This is about what kickoff will look like tomorrow. So should be a very good day. We'll come back around to Gamecocks and Mizzou in just a little bit. Drive around the SEC right now. Let's start. We'll take the big one last. So I'll start, I think, with Texas at Arkansas. Now, why this one? Well, Tennessee only has one loss this year, but it was at Arkansas. Texas is still in the hunt, and this is an old rivalry. Texas is a 13-point favorite in this ball game.
Oh, it would have gone down. I think it was at 17.5.
Was it? Let me double check. But regardless, double-digit favorite in Fayetteville. Anybody see any opportunity based on Arkansas beating Tennessee for the Razorbacks to pull another upset? Do you see that?
I love a Sam Pittman coach team, even if it's kind of down, because I was saying that against the Tennessee team, and I think they've had a couple other. Let me think there. I think it was kind of competitive with Texas A&M for a second there, and they. So again, Sam Pittman is one of those coaches who can get the guys. They rally around him. Everything in the long term might not be all roses for his future, but in a one-game sample, if everything's healthy for him, even in a down year, I like the Fighting Sam Pittmans and the Jay Phillips.
I just don't think they're playing well enough. I think you're talking about teams getting better as the year goes on, like South Carolina, even Missouri to an extent without the injuries. Arkansas has been getting worse. They got blown out by LSU, blown out by Ole Miss. Like, I still think Texas has obviously a much higher ceiling, but still like a national title ceiling. And yeah, I just think Arkansas is getting worse right now.
And that's from a football standpoint, like on paper, Texas should absolutely take a sledgehammer to them, even on the road. But this is one of those weeks, too, where you look at the national slate and there's not a lot of intrigue with like, oh, my God, this is a top 10 matchup and all that. Those are the weeks where the craziness happens. Right. And the closer this year gets to resembling 2007, like this could be what we call like a blood week, right? Like what was October 5th this year when Arkansas beat Tennessee, Vanderbilt beat Alabama. It was that same week. We're like, the slate's not great this week. And you know what? The slate became great because weird stuff happens. This does because of the history of the teams, because of this being the most Texas thing ever for them to lose this game. And this would be the most trolling Sam Pittman thing ever to end up winning this game on accident. I still think Texas wins because it's from a football sense, like what Alan said. Arkansas is like ran out of steam.
Right.
And Arkansas is like one of the worst in the SEC in terms of missing tackles.
Yep.
And that was a defense that relied so much, or a team that relied so much on that defense early in the year. It has to be Texas by like 21 points. I've got the weirdest feeling.
Regardless if Sam Pittman wins, does the shirt come off?
Oh, it has to.
Yeah.
If they win that game and you don't take off your shirt, you have wasted an opportunity.
Wave it around the head a little bit.
Absolutely.
I expect the belt to be over or above or below the belly button.
Way below.
Does he wear like your grandpa where it's like that's that Dunlap for real, or is he sipping it up the britches? I think Sam is a below the belly button guy.
Yeah, really borderline sagging.
I think
close.
I think so.
Because again, he's probably got the Hank Hill booty going on.
The line on this game did open. Elijah, you were right. It opened at 16.5, but today it's 12.5. So
that sounds so low to me. So again, knowing what Texas seeing, just talent across the board.
Right.
Start having these guys focus, and of course him being an offensive guy. Because that again, maybe I'm just thinking of Texas boom or bust, but Sam Pittman. I think Sam Pittman's going to figure out something.
There's some
make a barbecue story about something. You let the hog sit long enough or something. There's something in there from Sam.
Embrace the hog.
That's tomorrow early, 11 o'clock Central Time kickoff in Fayetteville.
Early too.
LSU at Florida tomorrow in the Swamp. LSU is just a 2.5-point favorite in this ball game. LSU still has something to play for, but how mentally defeated is LSU after what Alabama did to them? I think that's going to be the biggest question.
That defense has to be deflated. I mean, how many running quarterbacks have you been victimized by this year? And it's the same thing every time. Yeah. It's not like there's no film of Jalen Milroe running the ball well. Same thing with Marcel Reed earlier this year. There's no film of Marcel Reed running the ball. Lenora Sellers. It's like you watch what Lenora Sellers can do, even his tape last year. This guy can run the ball, and they still can't do it. They can't tackle anybody. They can't contain a running quarterback. This defense is so deflated right now. When you thought they made strides, because they did look a lot better at the beginning of the year, they have gone back to their same BS they were on last year when it came to just not being able to stop a nosebleed.
I was higher on LSU for longer than I probably should have been, just because that offense, the quarterback, the offensive line especially. But I think the air's out of the balloon. Florida's got DJ Lagway back from his injury. That's a running quarterback. The game's in the swamp. Florida needs a win. They need 2 more to get to a bowl, but they still play Florida State. So you think that's one, but they need this game. It's a rivalry game. I kind of think Florida wins tomorrow. Is that crazy?
No, I don't think it's crazy at all.
You're
Not
talking
at all.
me into it.
I think the biggest thing is mindset. Is who has a stronger, more confident mindset. If we were at a bar, say we're at this beer garden here called Columbia Craft, and there was a nice person at the end of the bar here, Jay, and who has more confidence to go up to that person and spit their little game? Would it be the Florida Gators? Would it be the LSU Tigers? I don't know, because again, it feels like there's a little bit more room for the fighting Billy Napiers to figure out something to get maybe that signature win, something like that to save, even though he has the vote of confidence, all of that. I just think LSU is not physical enough. The defense is too spotty, and Billy Napiers is going to figure out something to get kind of that signature win and stave off that crowd a little bit to really be like, okay, we'll give you.
Are you seeing or not seeing anything from Brian Kelly at LSU that makes you think what was happening at Notre Dame is a mirage?
I don't think it's a mirage, but I just think it's just really hard, A, to win the SEC, B, to keep a premier program going on top of all those things. I mean, he's trying to do the CEO thing and manage it and recruit and, change his accent and do whatever it is he got to do. But sometimes that's just not enough. And sometimes, teams are just better. LSU at night, all those different things. Like, you're not supposed to lose. You know, you brought the Tiger out. Like, what's going on? Like,
the governor did.
Let the Tiger go, man.
The scab tiger, not even the real tiger.
Man, Mike hasn't been the real Mike. Didn't the other Mike die a couple years ago? His little tail hasn't been cold long enough, Jay, for them to be disrespecting that. But no, I think the mind state is going to be the biggest thing. And so again, a little bit more confidence. DJ Lagway, I thought that was done. I thought he was like Dak Prescott done, hamstring off the bone, but here he is. He's young. Thank goodness for being young.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, finally, Tennessee at Georgia tomorrow night, and what is not only the best game in the conference, but I think the best game in the country. And yet Georgia is a 9.5-point favorite in this one. Trevor Etienne will not be at the game for Georgia, will not be in the game for Georgia at least. Carson Beck has forgotten which team he's supposed to throw the football to. Nico Iamaleava is likely to not play tomorrow, but we don't know that yet. But Dylan Sampson will play. Georgia is number 104 in rushing the football. Number 104, as our man TK Sam comes by to say, hey, we all love TK.
Always good to see him.
104th in the country, Georgia. That if after one game they had played like the Steelers, okay. But not 10 games in.
Again, the ways that they've been able to have success. Kirby wants to run the football, stop the run, embarrass you, and just crush you, overtime with the run game and the defense. It felt like, but it's going to be. I don't know. And you said it was a
9.5.
No, see that's that. No.
Langston doesn't like that.
No. Now Carson Beck is the quarterback still.
He still is.
I know what you're
with
saying.
The running game.
I am
with no running game.
I am not picking a backup quarterback to walk into Sanford Stadium at night against an angry Georgia team and win the game. I'm just not doing that.
This is true.
Yeah.
The 9.5 seems big, but I can't pick Tennessee.
Who is Tennessee's backup?
Right. Gaston Moore.
You just making that up?
It does sound like
it's Bilal Coulibaly.
Just making Langston Moore, just changing some letters around.
I was in my head. I'm like, I don't know. I look at Langston and I look at that propane gas tank over there. I'm like, Gaston Moore.
That's right.
And that's how I got that name.
All right, I got a few more thoughts on this one. And before we get Langston out of here, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Carolina, Missouri, Allen as well. Lots more to do as we are live at Columbia Craft on a Football Friday. 12 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's a Football Friday edition of the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, our buddy Alan Cole at Gamecock Scoop hanging out, and a few more minutes with our good friend, the former Gamecock and NFLer Langston Moore. Glad he is here in person with us this weekend. And again, no truth to the rumor that Langston and his wife escaped Dallas to get out of all the mayhem around the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. If this was a Mike Tyson fight 30 years ago, I'd say you better get out of town, but it's not.
Nah. Who's going to be the biggest celebrity at court ringside? Is that even going to be a thing? Because, like, again, the YouTube star versus the old, like, do people even go boxing matches?
I'm trying to think of like a D-list celebrity who might show up.
Well, they did. Jake Paul.
Off the top row.
Go, Jake. Nice. I like it. See, even more reason to turn in.
The stars are out. Pauly Shore sitting ringside.
Well, it was like, I know this is a weird thing that I remember, but years ago, the Dan Patrick boys were ragging on the Masked Singer, and so like they're talking like the panel is like, oh, that sounds like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think it's George Clooney, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, Andy Dick. You know?
It's Andy Dick. Yeah, close. Missed it by that much.
It's like you're never going to get the A-list guy on that one, but I don't know. We may find a way to tune into that one tonight, but. I want Mike Tyson to win just because I don't know. I mean,
what would be the most honorable thing? Obviously, let's say he's not going to knock the dude out because that I think. That's
maybe he will. I mean,
I would like to see it.
Can Iron Mike connect just once? That's all you need.
How about that? Like turn back the clock 30 years and see a perfect Mike Tyson 12-second knockout
at age 50.
Get the Wayback Machine going.
I don't feel good, man. I just envision Mike Tyson. Do you remember when Mike Tyson fought Lennox? Was it Lennox Lewis? And the whole time Lennox was talking, Mike was like wiping his face, like God bless you. And I was like, oh, Mike is crazy.
The wildest
Mike
thing
has been crazy, but that was. I feel like there's going to be a lot of that tonight, and I can't stand it.
The wildest thing about that fight is that took place in what is now the world's largest Bass Pro Shops.
Oh,
because that was fought at the Pyramid in Memphis.
Yeah.
Was that where the guy also came in through with the fan and the American flag?
I think so.
Jay, I had that on my bingo card. Like something like that will happen tonight, but it's closed in at the Cowboy Stadium.
Do they have curtains up? I know Jerry Jones was mad about that this week.
That was so ridiculous. They know where to say. You know what? I don't even want to talk about Jerry. All right, let's finish up our thoughts on this Tennessee Georgia game because this becomes. I mean, it's obviously must win for Georgia, but for it feels bigger than that all of a sudden because it's like what's wrong with Georgia and Georgia can't go into an offseason with all these questions. I mean, I know they can survive it, Langston, but Georgia's not supposed to be in the position they're in right now.
Right, but then also too, I mean, when is the national championship like dynasty going to like end? And this is the thing. I think these things really don't end well. Rome doesn't end well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, I think this is probably, whatever's going to happen. This offensive. I think this will be the impetus to Kirby Smart having his Nick Saban. I'm going from power run game to a little bit more spread, even though they're kind of like spread Mike Bobo. So maybe this is like. Mike, we got to kind of have a come to Jesus moment because Mike Bobo going to run that crack toss. He's going to run the crack toss into the boundary. They're going to be down, 10 points. It's going to be 3rd and 13. You go like, what the hell is Mike Bobo doing running crack toss? But here's the thing. Crack toss worked on 3rd and 13 here at South Carolina. So that's why Mike Bobo was going to call it.
Yes.
At one point, there's other times. So I don't know if we can ride this horse much longer. I don't know if the Georgia, we were in the same Georgia Bulldog family and all that. So maybe this is the impetus to get that offense and make a little bit of change because Kirby's going to need something to get the dynasty.
Well,
bring it back up again.
Is it Frazier? There's the freshman tailback for Georgia. I mean, that's what you're relying on. They got nobody to throw to.
There's just a distinct Brock Bowers shaped hole there. We talk a lot about like easy button offense for South Carolina.
Very large.
Georgia had 3 years of everything else isn't working.
But hold up, didn't they get this Delp dude?
Yeah, Oscar Delp, and
I mean, he's not him, no doubt, but
he had done. I mean, he's not clearly he's not the guy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and here's the thing too, when you go back and watch that Georgia Ole Miss game, have you ever seen a Kirby Smart team get smacked up on the offensive line like that? No. Ole Miss just got in front of their face, lined up, and ran through said face. Like I think that's the one glaring thing too. When you look at Georgia's losses to Alabama, there might have been a perimeter skill thing. It might have, like the SEC championship game a few years ago was a Bryce Young doing Bryce Young stuff before David Tepper ruined him. And all this type of stuff. There's other explainable variables, but the Ole Miss Georgia game was just a straight up ass kicking in the trenches. And I just never thought that would be something we say about a Kirby Smart coach team.
Tell you what, though, Tennessee's really good up front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, Tennessee kind of mirrors Ole Miss in
Yeah,
that regard.
ahead.
From
Sorry,
a Lane,
Langston.
no, from a Lane Kiffin led team. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, because usually it's a lot of, choop, choop, I get you behind you. But like you said, they stood up to the bully, and wow, that's what happened. Didn't expect it.
Before we get you out of here, final thoughts for tomorrow afternoon. I mean, our good friend Bill Gunner, who unfortunately Preston has to deal with every day. My God. But Bill convinced me to call tomorrow a must-win game, in the sense that if either of these teams would, especially for South Carolina, if you want to entertain any possibility with further chaos of being in some kind of discussion in 3 weeks, you got to win. So it now becomes must-win. So how big is this game tomorrow?
I say it's more must-win because we just got to get that offer against Eli out of here. That's when I say must-win. Like, again, all that other stuff, and we need some other stuff to happen for us to stay in that conversation. But I think, again, we can take care of a lot of old ghosts and woes, and get the dork, as I've heard you guys call them on this station.
I didn't say it.
Can you guys say this? Where's the FCC at with that type of thing? But no, I think that's the must-win game for us, because I think the season is over for Missouri once we do what we need to do, because when they lose in poor fashion.
Yep.
And again, I feel like Drinkwitz was going to really show his Dorkwitz self and just kind of like take his ball and go home after we give it to him the way we need to give it to him.
Make sure y'all check out athletesанdartists.net for all of the information on Just a Chicken Little, Used to Was a Rooster, the Button Gut Podcast, how to get Langston and Preston into a speaking engagement near you all over the state of South Carolina or beyond. You go somewhere else if you need to.
That's right. Got a couple invites to Austin, Texas or something. Wow. So we're taking it on the road.
I love it. Again, athletesанdartists.net, and you can follow Mr. Moore on Twitter. Remove the chains is the way to do that. It's great to see you in person,
Absolutely,
sir.
Man.
Best to the missus as well. We'll talk to you next week. All right, final hour coming up. We got a lot more sound from Shane Beamer. We got a wild card showdown, and a beautiful afternoon is winding down. Come have a beer with us at Columbia. If you're not feeling like yourself as you get a little bit older and you're going, man, what's up? Why is this happening to me right now? I used to have a lot more energy. And it's not going to change. It's not going to go away, and at least not on its own. Nope. Instead, do yourself a favor. Do those around you a favor. Go see Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic. Dan will sit down with you, a one-on-one consultation, gets to the root of what's going on, and listen, there's a lot of explanations as to what's happening. And no such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment either at the men's clinic. They will take the time to prescribe a plan that is just right for you to get you back to feeling like you want to after exercise, in your personal life, after yard work, at work, whatever it might be. No such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the men's clinic. Call them up, 803-875-MENS, and learn more about how many people they've helped and what they do. The Men's Clinic, SC.com.
You still seeing some very slow traffic on I-26 outbound. The westbound side, it's all the way from 378 going all the way through Malfunction Junction and up to at least Lake Murray Boulevard. Then on I-20, heading also westbound, seeing some slow traffic beginning around Monticello Road, North Main area. That's all extremely slow at the moment. Your weather outlook for tonight, 42 for a low, 69 for a high tomorrow, 40 for the overnight low Saturday. Sunday, 71, mostly sunny. Monday, 74, partly cloudy. And Tuesday, 75 with increasing cloudiness. So a bit of a warm-up trend. It's Captain Dave, WIS-TV Traffic Center.
It is 5 o'clock news time, but our 5 o'clock news is going to focus in on the Gamecocks and the Missouri Tigers. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the postgame show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks to Langston Moore for hanging out with us. Our buddy Alan Cole, Gamecock Scoop, is hanging around a little while longer here today. We appreciate his time as we get you ready for tomorrow's game. South Carolina remains a heavy 13.5-point favorite against Missouri. The over-under is now down to 41.5. So low scoring and a dominant South Carolina victory expected. The FPI gives South Carolina a 69.6% chance to win the ball game. What is the EFPI telling us this afternoon?
77.
Wow.
South Carolina, 77.
Is that the Elijah Football Power Index?
It is.
Yes.
we have. Well, we didn't have that.
Its own machine.
That was new this summer. Last year, we relied heavily upon the EBPI, the Elijah Basketball Power Index, and it was actually it was pretty solid.
It worked pretty well.
It was pretty solid.
There's no rhyme or reason to the numbers. It's all vibes based.
Well, whatever it takes,
all
man.
Vibes, baby.
Whatever it takes.
All vibes.
But for those of you just tuning in, we have spent a lot of time talking about this one and the importance of it. And yeah, I will freely admit, look, I'm sitting here and I try to look at numbers, be objective, look at results, be objective, look at film, be objective, whatever it is. And there's a part of me that is very subjective when it comes to this specific matchup because Alan Cole of this specific football coach Carolina is facing. He's had the Gamecocks number. And you mentioned to me earlier, I asked you, why do I feel the way I feel? And you mentioned because you've been around this program a while, which is true. And yet everything points, as we just kind of alluded to a dominant South Carolina win. Come out, assert yourself early. I suppose it I don't want to say takes care of itself, but if you don't, then Shane has talked about how Mizzou hangs around.
Yeah, I think the way I've been putting it all week is there's football reasons South Carolina can lose this game. There's not a football reason South Carolina should lose this game. I think it's kind of the distinction I make. It's not Wofford next week. Missouri's got playmakers. They've got a couple NFL receivers. Drew Pine's been around a while. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, from a football X's and O's perspective, you are the better team. You are playing at home. Missouri's down an NFL offensive lineman at center, which is, pretty important spot, and its quarterback, obviously. You're playing your best football. They're playing well, but not, I wouldn't say they're playing their best right now. They kind of scraped past Oklahoma last week. Like, if you're as good as you say you are, you should go out there and win the game by 2 touchdowns tomorrow.
Yeah. And Elijah, I've done it, but I'll repeat it for the audience here. Again, take this as I often say to you guys when I do the research that I do. take it as you will. But Carolina and Missouri have 4 common opponents this season: Vanderbilt, A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. Missouri is 2-2 in those games. The aggregate score is 125-70 in favor of Mizzou's opponents. They've been outscored by 55 points in those 4 games on aggregate. South Carolina, conversely, in those games has outscored the other teams, 125 for them, but 61 for the opponents. Mizzou, again, 2-2, and Elijah, obviously, South Carolina is 3-1. Again, I numbers can tell you a lot of things. Those are factual results, but how I or you or any of us apply it to tomorrow is up to the beholder.
I think it's one of the reasons why the spread is the way it is, and it's just the perfect illustration of what these two teams are this year. South Carolina has led in most of their games. They've dominated a lot of the wins they had. They've dominated a lot of them, especially in the second half. This is a team that, opposite like what Alan said about Missouri, they are playing their best football right now. You look at the results of the Vanderbilt, A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma games. Those are all the last games they played.
Yeah.
So those results have come recently, and it's a reflection as to where they're at, the trajectory they're on right now. The Vanderbilt game for Missouri was early in the year, and A&M also early in the year, but then they had the Alabama loss, Oklahoma on Saturday night. But I think what that number just tells you is the record for Missouri is a little deceiving.
Yeah,
it's a little deceiving.
Yeah.
They're what, 7-2 right now?
Yep.
That's not a 7-2 football team. That's not like it's like the Bill Parcells saying like you are what your record is, or your record says you are, is so false that it's not even funny. They've lucked out a lot. I know they find ways to win. So you may look at it as finding ways to win. I look at it as Jackson Arnold gift wrapped you a game. Peyton Thorne gift wrapped
Vanderbilt's
you
kicker
a game.
missed a chip shot.
Vanderbilt's kicker, yes. Like they have gotten on the positive side of a lot of very fortunate bounces for them this season, and that, like, yes, they may be 7-2, but this is why you're 13.5-point underdog on the road against a team that has one more loss than you.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, if you're as good as you say you are, if you're as good as as well as you've been playing the last month, this shouldn't come down to one score, one play, one bounce, one referee call. Anything variable-wise that can happen in a football game, you should be up by enough going into the fourth quarter that you feel okay about this. Should.
That bad luck can't beat you.
Right.
Bad luck should not be able to beat you in this game because you have to break their will early, like A&M and Alabama did.
South Carolina has won 3 in a row by a combined 71 points. Captain Dave, if you would please, sir, cut number 6 on today's list. Shane Beamer from last night on, again, with that current winning streak, how to keep that momentum going.
Great question, Bryce, and thanks for the call. It's certainly a challenge, but we focus on this week and this week only. And I'm not naive. Our players are outside of our building a lot, and they hear the talk. I mean, you can't help it, and that's good. I mean, they've worked really, really hard. That they were part of the ranking show on Tuesday night, and people are talking about us across the country. That's great. They've done a great job of being in people's minds in that way. But we also know that you got to handle your business, and we know we have a really talented team coming in here this weekend, and we've. I was on guard of that last week. We had a great win over Texas A&M, and now you're going up to Nashville against a good Vanderbilt team that's a different environment to play in just because it's not 100,000 people. And people, I think, thought last week was going to be a letdown because we're thinking about the wrong things. And this is a very mature group, and we've talked about it a lot. And this isn't like I mentioned this Tuesday in or sometime in an interview, maybe in our press conference, but this isn't like baseball where you play 40, 50 games, or basketball where you play 30 plus games when you're on the bubble. We get 12 Saturdays, and we know we've got to handle our business every single Saturday. And if we do what we are supposed to this Saturday, then there'll be more great talk about us next week, and it gets bigger and bigger. If we don't do what we're supposed to do Saturday and we don't play well, then we're going to get beat and we won't be ranked, and it kind of is what it is. So it's every week's a season, and we're just focused on going 1-0. That's all we talk about.
And Shane in there says, do what we're supposed to do. And we've just kind of outlined that. I mean, not that he is saying what we're supposed to do is win by 13 points and keep them to whatever so that the over-under stays in a nice spot. But there is the belief that you are the dominant team at this point in time. And as you just pointed that out, Elijah, I wonder internally, We may not know this until you guys are at postgame tomorrow night. What was the number one motivating message? Again, last week, Alan, it was clearly Vanderbilt's ranked and we're not. And that was the way to keep that going. What is this week's message? Is it as Langston said, you're the O for Eli? Is there something else at work here?
I think it's that right there. It's like I said it earlier in the show if people weren't listening, but there's
That's
guys.
my new phrase, by the way, O for Eli. You like that?
Yeah.
You might not be able to use it much longer. We'll see how tomorrow goes.
That's the goal.
No, there's guys on the team who have been here 4 or 5 years who have never beaten Missouri. I know that's a very weird, specific thing. It's not Clemson. It's not maybe a traditional rival, so to speak, but you still lose to the same team. Not these guys weren't here for all 5, but 3-4 times in a row, 5 for the program. Yeah, that gets frustrating. You want to beat those guys. It's been kind of weird head scratching. The one 2 years ago here was a very weird football game. They were ranked for that one.
Yeah.
Didn't think they were going to lose. They just kind of came out flat. So yeah, to me, like I'm not in the locker room, but I think it is. You lose to the same team 5 years in a row, you want to beat those guys. I think that's kind of a given.
Yeah, and guys like Tonka, Vershawn, Boogie.
Yep.
They're not. They don't want to be O for Eli.
They have to be tired of losing to this guy and these teams, right? This is also a program progressor. Like, let's think about how we talked about Missouri this summer. And it's like, oh, well, can they do it again? I mean, this is a team that went 10-2. They won the Cotton Bowl. They elevated their football profile pretty high. And South Carolina's in a position now where it's like, well, we can prove that we're a better program than you right now by knocking the crap out of you here at home, like putting you out of the college football playoff discussion, exposing them at a different level, exposing them with their lack of depth. Because here's the thing, too. Like, everybody has injuries. South Carolina has injuries. DQ Smith didn't get to play last week, and they stepped in. Peyton Williams had 2 pass breakups and was one of your better defensive backs in that entire game and helped you win a SEC road game. Winning this game would pretty much tell everybody that what you thought of Missouri last year, you better think of us now, right? Like, it's a program progressor. It's one of those that it's a game that you're expected to win. You're expected to take care of business. So rather take care of business and prove that you are at more of an upward trajectory in your program than Missouri is. And then you can get a little closer to where you want to be just up the entire landscape of the conference from a narrative perspective.
You may not hear the same kind of things we're saying about Missouri from Shane Beamer, but cut number 5, please, Dave. Here is the Gamecock head coach with more of a scouting report on the Mizzou Tigers.
Yeah, still a really good team. Like I said, winning 18 out of their last 22 games. I mean, that's hard to do. And they're nationally ranked. They're 7-2. They've got 2 losses on the road to top 15 teams, whatever the rankings are this week with those guys. But defensively, obviously, they were really, really good last year. They had a lot of guys get drafted off that defense. A lot of them have come back. And then they've replaced them with some transfer portal guys. A defensive tackle from Florida is one of their defensive tackles now. A defensive end from Michigan State is playing for them. A transfer linebacker from Miami. So they've got really good players on defense. And then, to me, their offense is just really good. Whether Brady Cook's playing quarterback or Drew Pine, they've got a talented offense. They've got really good running backs, a veteran offensive line, big, athletic, physical. And in my mind, they've got the best receiving core in this league, in my opinion. And we have faced some really good receivers this year. But when you talk about Luther Burden, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, you talk about Theo Weiss, who's a tall, athletic guy that won the game for them last week. They're really talented on the outside. And both quarterbacks are good players that have experience and are very active.
How much production they can get early, I think, in that pass game to try to set some things up that Missouri don't do as well, I think will be crucial. Now, whether or not that's how they want to come out and play this one, we'll find out. I'm not Eli and his coaching staff, but at least play to your strength as quickly as possible.
Or make sure that South Carolina has to account for Theo Weiss and Luther Burden. They have to touch the ball early and often. And it'll be imperative that they are able to show that they can move the ball with those guys. That way you have to focus on them enough to where maybe the run game opens up a little bit. And even then, that's a real tough task because of the injuries in the offensive line, the lack of production in Missouri's running back room this year compared to what it was last year with Cody Schrader. But this is one of those things, like if you're Missouri coming into this game against a great team in a hostile environment, like, I don't know. Do you take a shot on the first play? Do you just let Luther Burden get on the outside and say, all right, you just go down the field and we're going to chuck it up to you and we're going to see, if we can get this crowd out of the game early. But either way, you're going to have to make the defense account for the 2 weapons that you have out on the perimeter and in the slot.
Gamecock fans would like to see whomever at quarterback running around the way Diego Pavia was last week
and being scared.
Yeah.
Yes, you would like to. We would like to see TJ Sanders and Tonka Hemingway, all those guys on the line, have Drew Pine for lunch.
Yeah.
That would be what you would like to see tomorrow night.
Chucking the ball into the 8th row of the stands. We got more from Coach Beamer coming up, more of Alan's thoughts. Again, we are live at Columbia Craft in the Vista. Come say hey. We'll tell you more about their big plans that will be happening 1 week from tonight. And coming up in about 15, 20 minutes, it'll be this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. The Football Friday postgame show rolling on from Columbia Craft. 19 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome back in. Post-game show rolling on from Columbia Craft in Vista. Jay and Elijah, Alan Cole hanging out. Jeff and Jeannie are down here. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us this afternoon. Wildcard Showdown coming up in a bit. We'll invite 2 of you on board. And if you can find a way to beat us, we'll hook you up with a craft beer passport. Good for places like Columbia Craft.
Like right here.
And many others all across town. So we'll be calling upon you to do that in just a little bit here. Alan, let's come back around to this offense and some of the things that we heard this week, whether it was from Shane or from Dowell Loggins about the patience they've shown to get where they are. I said earlier this week, I get it. Football fans all across the country, when things aren't going well, look at Georgia right now. They're blaming the play caller. And early in the season, they got to do better for that. And I just think it was more a matter of the lack of experience. But what more are you gathering as you report and write this week about how and why this offense is maybe growing a little more quickly than some might have seen?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. First of all, I do give Dowell Loggins a lot of credit. He's saying the same things he said now that he did in August. I know that's boring for us to hear because it's nothing new to write. It might be boring for fans, but he said in August, this is a process. Like, these guys are young. Like, you're starting a true freshman at left tackle and a wide receiver and a redshirt freshman at quarterback. So I think some of that, I can't say enough about Rocket Sanders, everything we've heard about his work during the bye week, his work ethic in general. It's easy to forget the guy was hurt all summer, like when you watch him run right now. Like, he looks like Arkansas Rocket. So I think it's a lot of that. And then I think maybe you asked me this, Elijah, last time I was on, but easy offense, things you can trust, concepts that you know are going to be there. I think they found some they didn't have early in the year, whether that's Joshua Simon, who we talked about last time, whether that's that, we talked about that like orbit motion, Gage Larvadain running some options. You didn't have that in September. That's come along. Larvadain's healthy. You can run that now. So I think it's just a lot of, as much as anything, it's simplifying this offense to do what you know can work, combined with everyone's more experience and is executing it better than they were in September.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's, speaking of Rocket Sanders, Captain Dave, cut 13 on today's list, please, sir. Shane Beamer from last night's Carolina Calls with a little bit more on what Carolina tailback is up to.
I think it's a combination of all that. The people around him getting better every single week. He's got a true freshman left tackle that's in front of him blocking, and Josiah continues to get better every week. Rocket individually, he's certainly going back to Chad's question about the weight room. You see the results of that with Rocket and what he's doing right now, the work that he's put in to be at his best come November. It's pretty cool to see. And you mentioned it. I mean, it's running the ball. Luke Day gave me a stat the other day that Rocket led the nation last week in yards after contact, meaning Vanderbilt was making contact with him, and he still averaged 7 yards after somebody made contact with him. So he's breaking tackles. He's running hard as well. He's doing a great job in the passing game. He caught that screen for a touchdown the other night. And then pass protection. You go back and watch the touchdown pass that we threw to Josh Simon the other night. Go back and watch that and look at the blitz pickup that Rocket had. They brought
music.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Rocket, I think, was more excited about the blitz pickup than he was the touchdowns that he scored later in the game. And so he's doing a great job of just doing everything and really fun to watch him out there doing what we all know he can do.
Yards after usually yak yards are yards after contact. In this case, it's the same kind of thing for a running back, but he's getting it done. And you and I were looking at some of the SP Plus numbers for Bill Conley in terms of explosive plays and where Carolina is, and that has become a huge part of their arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hesitate to say they're reliant on it, but it's hitting. Like they're hitting the explosive plays so much more, and a lot of that too. When just going back and watching, like what's one of the big differences about this offense too is Lenore Sellers is breaking out of tackles in the backfield. He's scrambling and he's making plays happen. He's getting defenses out of position. He's either finding like Jared Brown for a 51-yard game. Like Jared Brown got open right there because Vanderbilt thought they had a sack and they're out of position. He scrambles out and then launches the ball. They lose track of where Jared Brown is because you constantly have to note where Lenore Sellers is because he is fast enough. He is strong enough to be able to pick up first downs all over the place, right? Same thing in the A&M game. But the better he's gotten at breaking tackles and being able to improvise is so hard for a defense to have to account for that. If it goes wrong for them, which it has for the last two defenses, it results in a lot more big plays too. I think Lenore's ability to do that has certainly enhanced what this offensive ceiling is.
And Alan, to one of the points that Elijah just made about maybe they're not reliant upon it, but they are hitting. But in terms of the scheme and what they're doing, and Shane just mentioned it, and clearly Todd loved it too. But that screen for a touchdown last week was the best play of the season. It was fun to watch because of everything that hit from an execution standpoint. So when you talk about execution, a lot of these plays are designed to go big if you've got the talent to go get it done. So where is that line between Elijah's point of they're not reliant, but man, they're hitting and saying, well, hey, we can be reliant on the scheme, and then you guys will go make it happen.
Yeah, I think that the big thing with the explosives is so much of this, the gap between a 3-yard run and a 30-yard run is just really small. It's 1 foot position for a tackle. It's 1 push. It's 1, missed chip block by a tight end. It doesn't take much. And I think, again, you're seeing just guys. I don't think the scheme has changed that much. I just don't think that happens in the middle of the season. Maybe Langston could have given a better answer to that. But you're seeing some wrinkles here and there, some of the option stuff. But this is the same base stuff they were doing early in the year. I think you're just executing better, and more than that, the timing's better. These guys have played together now. You broke in a new left tackle, pretty much a whole new offensive line except for center. Like none of those guys really played last year. Right. So the timing's better, the chemistry's. That's another reason I think Josiah is going to start if he's healthy. Is you just want to keep that together as much as possible. But the timing's better, and then when a 3-yard run gets the right block, that's how it becomes a 30-yard run, or in that case, a screen pass where you got linemen going downfield and everyone knows where they need to be, and that's how you break one of those.
What's been more of the word you're getting this week on where Nick Harbor is? He had a good game last week. 3 catches, but he's doing well without the ball. Elijah and I have made mention of a couple of the callers just concerned about his progression. What is their level, in your opinion, based on what you see in terms of his progression?
I think it's going exactly the way you want it to. Like, I understand people, they play the video game, they see the 5-star recruiting, they want him to go catch a 90-yard go route every week. Like, that's not realistic. Like, he's got 100-yard speed, but that doesn't help you on 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line when you got to be in a short window. So I think he's blocking really well. He's doing great when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. I think he's seeing the staff trust him more because he started the last 2 weeks, which tells you he's doing the right things in practice. Right. I don't think he's ever maybe going to be what South Carolina fans have in mind when you see an Olympic-level sprinter. He didn't play wide receiver in high school. He's still learning the position. And you can talk about that or whether that should be the case or not or anything else, but he's not a wide receiver. He is getting better at playing wide receiver. And again, as I already said, the most important thing, he is still doing everything you need him to do when he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Yeah. How big is it to have Brown back? How big is it to have Bennett feeling good again too?
Yeah, huge. I think you saw Elijah mention the play Lenore's made last week on the scramble. I think the chemistry, the timing of those receivers is better. And we always talk about creating mismatches. You're asking more questions of Missouri's defense when you have a guy on each side who can kind of burn a little bit.
Definitely.
When you look at this from a perspective of spreading things around tomorrow, do you still? I mean, we haven't talked about Josh Simon today at all, and I feel like there's so many people to account for, and I wonder what that makes Missouri's defense feel like tomorrow.
Oh yeah, well the thing with Josh Simon too, he's just a mismatch nightmare.
Yeah,
you have to have, like a couple touchdowns. I'm trying to think which one it was. I think it was the Oklahoma one where he looks like he's about to block, right, and then he leaks out, and then he ends up catching the pass on the basically what's a triple option between Lenoris, Gage, and himself. And he ends up scoring easily. And even then, it's like a linebacker has to pick him up, And Josh Simon is so athletic, so fast, that he is such a tough match for any linebacker in the SEC. Don't care with which team. It's such a mismatch problem to have to guard someone like Josh Simon that if you're Missouri, I guarantee you they've been up at night trying to figure out how they can avoid that type of mismatch. And that's honestly for them defensively, tackling Lenore Sellers hard enough, something you're just going to have to execute well. Tackling Rocket Sanders, just something that's difficult. You have to execute well, win the battle in the trenches. But the one X's and O's thing that a great tight end always does is create mismatches. That's the one that I think like Missouri has to be, really concerned about going into tomorrow, and that South Carolina has is like an advantage.
It's not like there's just a trust there too. Like Josh Simon's a 60-year guy. He's going to run the right route. He's going to be in the right spot. He's going to block when you need him to. I think there's a lot of trust for Lenore Sellers there. And there's something to be said for you mentioned you're not talking about him. Well, you don't have to talk about Josh Simon. Right. He just kind of does what he has to do, and he's there when his quarterback needs him. And you're seeing Is it fair to call him target number 1 right now? I think it is.
Yeah.
I guess you don't count Lockett,
definitely.
but yeah.
I think he's the leading pass catcher. That counts as endless, at least in that. And again, Elijah calls him the easy button. So that's
I think that's exactly right.
That's the thing. All right, it's time to bring 2 of you on board and play this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. Make some picks against the spread. Got some good ones this week. 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. 2 of you. The showdown. Beat us. You win some beer. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Coming up on Monday, the Cato's Power Equipment Black Friday sale is going to begin. Ben Cato promises it will be the biggest that Cato's Power Equipment has ever had. Plus, it's a 2-week sale, so you have plenty of time to get into the store. It'll run from the 18th until the 29th. Steel products, many of them 15 to 20% off. If you are a fleet, government, or 501c3 group, you can save 25% off all steel products in stock, which means you need to get into Cato's Power Equipment and see firsthand all the things that they've got for you. Homeowner mowers, 10% off Toro push mowers, and many of them have big-time savings. And listen, I love my Time Master. I can't talk about it enough. That thing has made mowing the grass the best thing ever. If you are in the business of landscaping, they've got some big ones for you, like the Toro Titan that are going to be on sale. So many great things. Just get in there and see. All right, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, Cato's Power Equipment.com.
All right, a lot of wrecks this afternoon. Got wrecks downtown. Going to be Gervais Street at Hugh G. Also Saluda near Blossom, Fort Jackson Boulevard, I-77, Longtown at Faro, Two Notch Road near Clemson Road, 20 westbound before Broad River Road, and Highway 6 at Platte Springs Road. So look out for those problems on the roads this afternoon. This is Captain Dave, WIS TV Traffic Center.
What?
You give me a high school game tonight? Like Ole Miss.
25 minutes in front of 6 o'clock on this Friday afternoon / evening now. Dusk is upon us here in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome back in. This is dusk, right?
Yeah, this counts.
When does dusk start?
Right now, clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah?
this is it.
All right, I don't know.
At this very moment.
All right.
I feel like
When Jay
Potter
Phillips
Stewart.
says it's dusk.
Nah, I wish I had that much control. Jeff, is it dusk yet? Dusk, you think? Dusk? All right,
See,
Jeff says.
I feel like Potter Stewart trying to determine like what obscenity is. Like I don't know what dusk is, but I know it when I see it.
I know when I see it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that's
can't-
right. That's right.
Can't define it for you, but this is it.
Jay, Elijah, Alan Cole, GamecockScoop.com hanging out with us as well. All right, Captain Dave, cue the band. Let's bring Tony and Dylan on board to play this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. Tony, happy Friday, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing well. And Dylan, same question, man. How are you?
Doing amazing, man. Ready for this game tomorrow.
There you go. All right,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
Well, we got 4 against the spread. You don't have to beat Alan. Alan is like an exhibition.
He's a
Guest
celebrity
picker.
guest picker.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Alan Cole's the
So
celebrity
you, don't
guest
have,
picker.
you just have to beat Elijah and me. But if you do, we'll hook you up with a crappier passport. So good luck. And again, now we are on a somewhat of a streak here.
streaking.
Yeah. Well,
Clothes are on, but we're streaking.
you are. I can't do that anymore. All right, guys. Let's start. Before we get
I'd love to go 5-0 for you.
That's right. Let's start over in Athens, Georgia. A 9.5-point favorite over the Tennessee Volunteers in a huge game, as Al Michaels would say. Tony, I'll start with you.
Oh, give me the Volunteers there with the points.
Tennessee getting those points. Yeah. Dylan.
Yeah, I'm going with Tennessee, too. I see Tennessee straight up winning that game.
Oh, straight up. All right. Dylan's confident.
Yes.
Alan Cole. You got Alan's over here. I don't
I
have
do.
a place. You keep
Oh, yeah.
Alan. All right. Alan.
I said it earlier. Give me the dogs against the backup quarterback to cover the 9.5.
All right. So Alan's got Georgia. Elijah Campbell.
I have a slight feeling Nico might play, but even if he doesn't, that defense is so good.
All right.
It's just so good. I think they
Yeah.
keep it close.
Okay.
So I'll take the cover.
Tennessee
They will not win, though.
to cover.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. But I'm kind of like Alan. Like all of a sudden, I just think Georgia. By the way, I looked at this tonight, or I saw this today. Seth Emerson had it out. Georgia has not lost a primetime game, so a 7 p.m. or later game in Athens since 2009.
I was a freshman in high school.
A long time ago.
ago.
They win at night between the head. They hardly ever lose at home anyway, but they haven't lost a
South
primetime
Carolina's still the
game.
last team to win there, right? 19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. But that being said, I think Georgia wins, but that's a lot of points right now with how Georgia's played. So give me Tennessee to cover
Allen on
the
dog.
9.5. But I do think Georgia wins the game. All right, Dylan, we've got Oregon going to Madison to take on the Badgers. This one is 13.5 in favor of the Ducks. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely the Ducks all the way.
Ducks to cover big time, says Dylan. Tony.
Oh, yeah, the Ducks. They'll have it covered by halftime.
Ducks. I will say Wisconsin is bad against good teams. They're 5-4, but in the 4 losses, they're all ranked, and they've been walloped. Like, what was that telling you? The average was 38-14.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
average
gross.
score.
It's gross.
Alan, how do you see that?
Yeah, not much to it. Give me the Ducks on the road.
Ducks on the road.
Yeah, Wisconsin puts the bad in Badgers, so quack, quack, baby.
All right. Well, then we're all going. We're all. Yeah, I'd like to think that that Wisconsin has a chance. I don't.
Yeah, not feeling it.
Oregon to cover in Madison. All right. Elijah Campbell, I'll start with you. Baltimore going to Pittsburgh, but it's the Steelers getting 3 points.
Steelers are getting
3 points.
Give me the Ravens then, baby.
All right. Baltimore. All right. Alan?
That's tough, but I'll take Steelers at home getting points in a divisional game. Defense playing pretty well. I don't know if they win, but they'll hang around. Give me the
All
Steelers.
right. All right. Man, backing and forth in a lot of these games right now. Baltimore's just playing really well, and Pittsburgh struggles to score. I'll take Baltimore minus that 3. All right. Tony, same game. Baltimore minus 3 in Pittsburgh.
Give me the terrible towels in Pittsburgh.
Steelers, says Tony. All right. Dylan.
Yeah, man, Lamar and them playing way too good, so I'm going with the Ravens.
Baltimore. All right. There we go. Next game is also in the NFL. Buffalo hosting Kansas City. Does KC finally lose? Bills -2 over the Chiefs. This is the 4:30 game on Sunday. Alan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I just don't believe in teams going 17-0 in the NFL. Chiefs flirted with a loss for a while. I think it happens this weekend. Give me the Bills at home.
Buffalo to cover at home. My children will, well, at least the ones that like Taylor Swift will be mad at me, but that's okay. Buffalo is going to win this game and cover. It'll be close. It'll be close, Elijah Campbell.
Yes.
But they'll cover the two.
Game.
They'll cover the two.
No one circles the wagons, baby. Give me the Bills.
All right. Bills.
The golden horseshoe has to be removed from where the sun doesn't shine. That Kansas City holds that golden horseshoe in. They can't do this forever.
All right. Tony, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, so give me the Bills.
All right. Dylan?
I'm going to die on this island. How about those Chiefs?
All right.
All right.
Hey, listen.
Hey,
no one
banking
will
on
be
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick
Mahomes isn't a bad ordeal.
Patrick Mahomes on one side, that amazing defense on the other. I mean, none of us will be surprised if Kansas City wins this football
That'd be
game.
big for Dylan.
All right, finally, wild card time here. Tony, we'll draw yours out first, sir. You get Colorado, an 11-point favorite at home over Utah. And for whatever it's worth to you, Tony, this game will be kicking at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. What do you think? Colorado -11 over the Utes.
So dumb.
Easy money here. Give me the Utes.
The Utes plus the points. All right, Tony, very confident about that. Might be the most confident single pick I have heard on this contest all year long. All right, so there you go. Dylan, you get – actually, Dylan, I'm serious, man. You get a very sneaky, great game tomorrow that matters. Kansas State, 7.5-point favorites over Arizona State. Both of these teams are 7-2 and 4-2 in conference play. This is a good game.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm going to go Kansas State to cover.
K-State at home minus the points. Elijah Campbell, you get Ashton Jeanty and the Boise State Broncos going on the road. 14-point favorites at San Jose State.
Big Ken Niumatalolo guy. So give me San Jose to cover 14. You said 14 and a half?
14 straight. Just 14 straight. You don't have a hook.
Oh, no hook. Okay. Well, you know what? Call me Peter Pan, then I don't need the hook. I'll take San Jose.
San Jose State to cover the spread. We're going to let Alan pick one of these four to be his game. So mine is LSU, 3.5-point favorites at Florida. You know what? What the heck, man? Florida's going to win the football game.
Oh,
give me Florida.
Calling a shot.
Give me Florida. All right, Alan. Which one of those games you want?
This is going to look worse when I get it wrong because I had 4 to choose from and none of the rest of y'all did. But I'm going to just take what you took right there. I'll take Florida. I said it earlier in the show with Langston. I'll take the Gators to win outright at home.
All right, there you go. So you feel like me. All right,
chomp chomp.
And then finally, guys, this one's pretty simple. Total offense for Tennessee tomorrow night.
Ooh.
Total offense for the Tennessee Volunteers. All right, don't know what's going to happen. Dylan's going to play. Nico's probably not, but you don't know. With George, I don't know. Anyway, there you go. You've had time to think about it. Total offense for Tennessee in Athens. Tony, you get to go first.
I'll take 275.
275. Dylan.
I'm going to go 325.
325. That takes me to Elijah Campbell.
I'm going to go 232.
232. Alan Cole.
I'm going to say 257.
All right. I like kind of where Tony is. Tony, I'll give you a little cushion, man. 265 for me. All right. We're all in. Tony, Dylan, we appreciate you playing. We appreciate you listening more than anything else. Yes. Y'all enjoy all the football this weekend, and we'll let you know on Monday. Thank you, guys. That's Tony. That's Dylan. Alan played too. That's the Wild Card Showdown. We'll get you some final thoughts. Carolina, Mizzou coming up on the postgame show. Huh?
And they are. Nobody's lying.
Well, and another one I told him the other day, it made him laugh. So when I was a little kid, man, like I'm like 11 years old, and this is back before every game was on television. So Carolina, Georgia was on ABC in the afternoon. And back then, the fraternities here had like a banner contest. They would hang them on like the lower wall behind the visiting team. And one of them that was right at the 50 said, "Dogs can lick their balls, but they can't lick our cocks." and ABC TV made them take it down, man. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the post-game show on this Friday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, our buddy Alan Cole has been hanging out with us all day. Jeannie making sure we're doing the things the right way, and Captain Dave doing yeoman's work as he always does back at Master Control. Jeff Haley's out here too. Did I already thank Langston? Thanks to Langston again.
Oh, we're always thanking Langston. Even when Langston doesn't join us, we're always thanking Langston.
We are. Langston does a lot for us. Before we
raise their profile,
get out of here, make a few final thoughts on Carolina Mizzou. A couple of programming notes. First off, and we'll go in order of these. Elijah and Justin will have the high school scoreboard show coming up for you at 7. Tomorrow, our all-day coverage begins at 11. So it's not all day. Most of the day coverage.
It's most of the day.
Most of the day coverage begins.
We start in the AM.
At 11 over at the party. You'll be doing that too.
That's right.
Yeah, look at you.
I'm a madman. Madman on the mic.
Gamecock men's basketball tomorrow at 3 o'clock on the AM here in Columbia, 1320 AM, Carolina and Indiana. And then Sunday afternoon, Don Staley's #1 Gamecocks taking on East Carolina. And in just a few minutes, no radio for this or anything, but many of you might be in the car right now headed to the graveyard for Carolina women's soccer taking on East Carolina in the NCAA tournament.
Big game for Shelley and the crew.
A lot going on, man.
Big game.
A whole lot going on. Alan, final. I'm not asking you for a prediction. You can predict if you'd like to, but really just more of final thoughts on, keys to victory for South Carolina.
Got to tackle. Burton's going to make some catches. Weiss is going to make some tackles or some catches. The only time all year we've seen this defense not look good, even the Ole Miss game, right? They had some short fields, some tough spots. The LSU game, that was their season high in missed tackles. So Missouri's, they don't have a lot of weapons who, can get down the field with Drew Pine, but they've got guys who can catch a ball in space short and make a guy miss and go for 50 yards. So I don't worry about, gap control or guys lining up at the wrong spots or coverage busts against this team, but you do worry about missed tackles. So I think that's the biggest key.
Somebody in your mind that we aren't thinking about for South Carolina that may play a role tomorrow?
Ooh, that's a good question. It feels like everybody knows this team right now. Tomorrow is the day Gage Larvadain gets on the board with a touchdown.
Okay.
I like that.
There you go.
I like that. In terms of, I will say Peyton Williams. I think this would be another big Peyton Williams game because, we're talking about DQ Smith coming back. He's not even on the injury report. But I think Peyton Williams proved himself to be a viable option at that position. And when you play a team like Missouri, whose best weapon is a slot receiver, and the whole key that Alan said, which is completely true, you're going to have to wrap up. Like Shane said it really well at the press conference on Tuesday. Burton and Weiss are going to get catches, but don't let the 5-yard catch become a 50-yard catch. And Peyton Williams is going to be a big part of that. I think he gets some run tomorrow.
For me, and Elijah, you've seen it firsthand all week. I'm not panicking. I am the guy who.
It's a trauma response.
I have a lot of experience around here. I don't even believe that's going to happen tomorrow. If you really said to me, or ask me, Jay, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? I think South Carolina is going to cover this spread. That's what I think, or at least right around it. I think I picked an 11-point spread on Jack's picks, but I think they're going to go assert themselves. My concern is that Missouri finds a way not to let you. I don't really have any fear of Carolina not coming out and doing their thing, but I do have a fear, if that's the right word, of Eli Drinkwitz just finding ways to make South Carolina uncomfortable. And you and I talked about it a lot this week. How do you keep them off balance? Is that screen game successful? Does South Carolina, we asked Langston, do they get frustrated when the strength of this team, which is the defensive line, all facets of it, doesn't get to impose its will upon Missouri because Eli has found a way to negate it? If those things happen, I don't like Missouri being in a fourth quarter game here tomorrow.
No, don't let it get to that point. Yeah. Don't let it get to that point. Do what A&M and Alabama did, and that is completely break their will to live at a certain point of the game and be relentless with it. I mean, that's the thing, too. Like, Missouri does kind of like Kansas City. Very ironic. They share a state. Have the golden horseshoe factor where they have gotten really fortunate in one-score games.
Fair,
this year.
man.
There's something in the state of Missouri. It's the show me state, and they're showing us a golden horseshoe that they just get to have in their back pocket to whip out in some of these games. Just make it to where a fumble by a quarterback, by Lenore Sellers or whatever it is, won't beat you, right? It didn't beat you in the Vanderbilt game because you created your own luck by getting all that separation in the second half. Sure, Missouri might turn you over because they're really good at that. Johnny Walker's a great edge rusher, and he is great at wreaking havoc, and he's had a really solid season. And that's really, the strength of that defense. But don't let maybe a Johnny Walker one-on-one win against someone like Josiah Thompson or Kason Henry be the difference between fumbling at the 5-yard line and losing the game or fumbling at the 5-yard line. They get the ball and they score a touchdown to cut a 35 point lead to 28.
Johnny Walker Scotch, too.
That's right.
Red label, black label.
He's a very busy man.
Yeah, there you go.
He's everywhere.
Thanks, as always, to Maz and Andrew and the crew here at Columbia Craft for having us out. Again, a week from today. In fact, a week from now.
This very
their
second.
7th anniversary party will be going on inside, outside, on the big lot across the way here. Live music, all kinds of great food, some relaunches of some big-time beers they've had before. We always appreciate them. Alan, thanks, buddy, for hanging out all day.
The man,
appreciate you. TK, thank you. Wherever you might be listening right now.
Yes.
That was great. Langston, as always, Jeff, Jeannie, and all of you listening, thank you so much. Captain Dave, you as well. Y'all have a very safe and enjoyable weekend. We'll see you Monday. And officially one final word from our friends at AAA Heating and Air. Getting a little chilly, right? Time to crank the heat, the furnace, the heat pump, however you stay nice and comfortable. Make sure it's running smoothly for the next few months. Call AAA at 803-677-1500 and get one of their great techs into the house for a complete inspection. And if you find out that it's time for something new, and it might be, especially if you don't know how old your system is to begin with, well, Roy and Dana Finley and AAA Heating and Air are ready to help you out with a fantastic offer that's still running through 2024. You buy a brand new system in 2024, you make no payments, have no interest for a full 12 months. Not until the end of the year, for a full 12 months. Plus a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. Think about that. 15 years. They believe in this stuff. $1,500 system buyback rebate, and they guarantee that they can get you financed to make sure that it's more affordable than ever. Get a free quote right now. Log on to callAAAtoday.com. Give them a quick little bit of info. They'll spit it out for you.